Hey everybody. I just got back from, I had my monthly doctor's appointment today to get like Suboxone. I go once a month, and like for the first time the past couple weeks, for the first time ever in my life, like I'm actually starting to just contemplate very, very loosely the idea of one day being like done, just being done with Suboxone, or like trying to like taper off. I've never thought like I would even like be considering that. So that's great. But at the same time, I'm also like really considering medicinal marijuana. It's like so ironic. My mind, I have such like bad like stress and anxiety, and a lot of that's like learned behaviors. I'm trying to unlearn it, and a lot of it's just the way I think too. I'm just like prone to anxiety and stress, and like seriously, like I have to turn down psychiatrists like for nerve medication, which I don't go to psychiatrists anyway anymore because I think they're fucking full of shit. For the most part, from my experience, I guess I need to like do that disclaimer. Not all psychiatrists, but like honestly, no offense, but like as a profession, I think you're fucking absolutely. It's like just a useless, pointless, destructive to humanity profession, because every single person on the planet could like be diagnosed by a psychiatrist with something and come back with a pill, and like you always feel worse. I always felt worse. I'm not gonna say you, but like I always felt worse after psychiatric like medication recommendations. Always felt worse. And I think most people do too. Like you can actually see like people do worse on their pills, and it's like, my God, I'm sorry, like even me, it's like I'm a fucking basket case. I'm neurotic. I am self-destructive. I am like clinically self-conscious, and I'm also kind of like clinically like a ponderer, or like a seeker. And like I said in my last video, I love that I'm a seeker, but at the same time, if you are inherently a seeker, doesn't that mean you're never going to find what you're looking for, like by design? Because that's the way I feel. I just feel like I'm always just wondering, like literally, if not figuratively, like wandering or wondering like what the fuck's going on. But anyway, I just got a lot going on in my head, and even with all that said, I don't want my life or my past to be dictated by my mind. I don't want my past or my life to be dictated by like a diagnosis or a limitation. I just feel like if you let it, a diagnosis will absolutely be a limitation in a heartbeat, and you'll be like limiting yourself. And that's like something I wanted to kind of touch on, because in the first couple videos, which is like funny, I say this like people watch, but that's okay. But anyway, all 5 people that watch, I don't want to give the wrong idea. In my first couple videos, like I talked about mental illness because it's a fucking factor, right? Like our minds are completely a factor, but still, that's not really it for anybody. And I just want to make that clear. Like my mind explains what led me to use, but my mind and my diagnosis do not explain why I was continuously down. And that's true with everybody. We just it's like blowing my mind the more like I understand this. Like every single thing in my life, it's either going to be like this insurmountable obstacle, or it's going to be like tough, but oh shit, I can do it if I want to. It's going to be like totally doable. And it just depends on if I try or not. And God, it's like we are all just like, it is such a fine line between an explanation, a justification, and an excuse. An explanation is what it is. An explanation explains why you were the way you were, but it never explains why you are the way you are. It just doesn't. And And the thing about addicts is like, and just people that suffer in general, people that have a hard time living life, people that have a hard time like having healthy coping mechanisms and just living within their own skin, within their own mind, within their own, perspective and reality. People that just have a hard time living like I did for so long. It's not, it's not about your fucking past, and it's not about your mind, and it's really like irks me the way like every single thing that you see about recovery, at least that I saw, like the vast majority of things about addiction are kind of like one or two things. It's just like, oh, family history of addiction, or it's like, it's something about the family history of addiction, and or family trauma, right? Or it's about your mind. Oh well, you have this, you have that, you have this, you have that, and it's just like, God, it's a fun. I'm sorry. Like I said, maybe I'm just like not where I want to be, which I'm not where I want to be spiritually at all. I'm getting there, but I'm definitely not there. And so maybe it's just me being bitter or calloused or just not, God, I need to like tap my third eye or something, seriously, like not zen enough, whatever. I don't know what it is, but if we're like, I just get frustrated and like furious thinking like, God, this shit does not work. It's not your fucking past. It's not your mind. It's not your family, no matter how bad it was. Like, that's it. It's not. And I say that like with frustration because like I said, the system just keeps putting emphasis on that. Well, what's your diagnosis? Like, and it's not a coincidence. It's not. I do not think all this stuff can be a coincidence. That as soon as I started realizing, wow, if we look at addiction as, oh well, we have this horrible trauma, then we're never going to get the fuck over it, and we're never going to have the option to. And if we look at addiction from, well, you just have a broken brain, you're never going to be able to get over it either. So it's like, what is really going on here? And it is a microscopic fine line between, like I said, an explanation and like just an excuse, and if you're saying, oh well, I had this horrible trauma in my childhood, or this horrible family situation, or something in my family, therefore I use, like, that's a bullshit excuse. And I'm just sick of it being like perpetuated as like, it's like we're being like low-key kept down. And the funniest fucking thing is, and obviously not funny like funny, just like ironic, it's like we are being taught to keep ourselves down, and these people, institutions, organizations, like I'm specifically thinking about like psychiatric and rehabilitation, like addiction rehab. They're just laughing all the way to the motherfucking bank because we're like keep falling for it. And I just, that's one of the most amazing things that came from being almost killed, because my consequences from addiction had gotten like just horrific, I mean, that's why I was almost killed, because I kept doing more and more extreme things over this longer extended period of time. And and I ended up at this point with just total chaos. And that's what I sought. That's why I was with somebody that almost killed me. I mean, I didn't know he was going to do that, but I liked the fact that he was exciting, and I didn't know what he was going to do. And he was fun and artistic, and he shared his drugs, and I was like, oh, let's do it. And then he tried to kill us both, and he succeeded with himself. And it was horrific. I had never had PTSD before that, I had never seen that much blood in real life. I had, it was a traumatic event, but the truth is that I'm so grateful, because I kept I'm so fucking stubborn, and I was also so self-destructive for so long, even though I was an addict for 13 years, like, which is plenty long enough. But I had these like really self-destructive, just really a lack of sense of self and really self-destructive like thought processes for absolutely decades. So it was going to take something gigantic. I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn as hell. It was going to have to take something big, and boy did it. And I'm just so grateful that I realized, it took me going into fight or flight mode, like I said in another video, to realize that there was a desire to live. There was a will. When I was forced to get, when when I thought was myself, which was really just my fucking stupid ass annoying ego, was forced to get out of the way, my soul's like instinct to live took over. And that's what fight or flight was. It's like my brain was operating in incredibly, like, I was aware of how my brain was operating. It was like really cool. I was aware of it, but at the same time I wasn't analyzing and like, in my head about stuff. I was going like, I was like an animal in the best way. And I've explained that a little bit in another video, but I think when I talked about fight or flight, I didn't really, I think that was the video I think that I didn't post, but it was like really, so sorry if I'm like rambling, or being redundant rather. It was like my thought processes, I could practically see from like, almost like my ego was like in the back seat, and I was watching, like literally I could practically see like boom, 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 boom. My thoughts were coming like bullet points, like I mean, it was wild. And that was just like, and I just said, as soon as he slit my throat, I said to myself, I didn't say to him, I said in my mind, I said, I'm not fucking dying in here. I'm not going to die today. But I had been like having this death wish for decades. So, it was crazy to really realize that I wanted to live, and I truly like had to be close to death to see that I did want to live. But anyway, besides having this, figuring out that I did in fact want to live, of course, then these other like epiphanies have come since, just kind of about like how I'm going to live and life in general, and my reason for living, and I've just been forced to kind of look at things in a way that I never would have done had this horrific thing not happened. But the irony is that one of the big epiphanies that I also had from the attempt from surviving this attempt on my life was that I realize now that if I had just one fucking time taken a step back when I was using, if I had really just thought about it one time, what, like, why am I doing this? Like, anybody that wants to get high, and that's how I was, like, I wanted to get high. I'd like accepted it at the end of my addiction. I always wanted to get high. I just thought like, oh, I can balance it, or I can do better, or I can like whatever. But towards the end I was just like, no, I'm just gonna get high as much as I can. I mean, why would you want that's like, oh, I thought because like it felt good. Like there's like a million things that feel good, and heroin, like, no matter, and it does, is it better than orgasm? Of course, fuck yeah, it's the best feeling in the world. But still yet, it is a physical, fleeting feeling. And when you compare that, like, oh, it feels so great, I mean, is it worth like not being able to afford toothpaste when you're pushing 40 years old? Like, for me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, the cost was so high, and the price you pay, because it's like you can have everything in life, like material, like in theory, like material wise, or you can have like a drug addiction. And also it's like there is absolutely no personal growth possible when you're an addict. And it's like, God, no wonder I was miserable, and And it's like, God, all you have, I've just like been realizing that all I have to do is believe in myself and make it happen. Just act as if, even if I do care what people think, and I'm not all the way there yet, and I don't like believe in myself maybe as much as I would like to, and have my mind managed as much as I would like to. I'm not even my goal weight yet, but I'm heading in the right directions, and I'm being mindful about it, and that's really all I can do, and acknowledge how far I've come, and of course have gratitude, while in this process of life, right? But and I kind of lost my train of thought, but that's all you can do is just, I mean, that's all I can do is just act like I don't give a shit, because I'm like, if I'm if I want to do something, I'm not going to allow myself to be limited by anything other than myself. And when I think about life that way, it's like, well, I don't want to be limited by myself, right? So it's like, I better fucking do what I want to do and make some shit happen, or at least try, because it's like, why would I be limited by anything other than me? And it's like with addiction, it's like the exact opposite. It's like you're limited by everything. I mean, like I said, very, very, very suspiciously, as well as very conveniently, with the recovery community, it seems. And of course, the zeitgeist, just in general, like, whether it's the news or I don't know, just I fucking cannot stand these people. Honestly, I think they're so phony. And like when I turn on the TV now, which I do not have cable, when I see it on, like in a doctor's office, I'm like, wow, you can tell we are literally watching programming in hell. You can tell like this has to be either a simulation, or it has to be some type of purgatory, or like a weird like consumer hellscape. It has to be one of the two, some version of hell / purgatory, or a simulation. Like you can totally see it when like The View was on. It's like the Today Show, and it's like, oh yeah, God, it was just so fucking phony. I'm like, who watched this? Like, seriously, who are these people who like, it's like, oh my God, I gotta tune in today. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's just like my soul, it was like sucking out of me. It was awful. But anyway, the point is like all of these systems are just fucking meant to suck the power out of us, or actually they're meant to make us hand over our power. And I did it for so long, and I handed over my power, like I said in the other video, to drugs, and to cheap thrills, and quick fixes, and boys that I could use as like an escape or an excuse to fail. Like, oh, I guess I'll follow this guy off a cliff because we're in love. And honestly, sometimes we were in love, but it's like Kim Wexler says, so what? Yeah, I love you, but so what? I used to think love had, that's about all I'm going to say. I guess I'm going to wrap it up. I've been kind of bouncing all over the place, but hopefully it'll make sense to somebody maybe. But like Kim Wexler said on Better Call Saul, she was like, yeah, I do love you, but so what? And I used to just think that love had like these mythical powers, like, oh my God, we're in love. And it's like, what's it matter? Love just makes things complicated when it's not the right time for both parties involved. I mean, all it does is complicate things and make things like very sad. It's not going to fix anything. It's just going to, I don't know, make it sadder when it's inevitably like, combusts. But anyway, it was just so huge, like so huge. Like, in summary, the irony of realizing through a near-death experience like that near-death experiences are kind of overrated. That's what it took for me. But that shows how fucked up I was, that it did take that to just really start to live like, in a way where I was taking control over my life. I just wanted no control over my life because I couldn't control my mind. I couldn't control myself. So I just was, fucking it up. So I just wanted to give it to a guy, or to drugs, or to an escape, or whatever. But, I mean, it's such an empty feeling at the end of the day. And it's just like, I just wanted more. I was like, man, this is empty. My soul wants to live. I was like fighting for life. I cannot just be like, okay, let me just jump right back into this fucking cesspool of pain and despair, which addiction is. I mean, you feel this amazing feeling, but addicts are so fucking sad and so unhappy and are just so lost, like every addict is. You can see the pain in an addict's eyes, you really can. But anyway, I guess that's about it. I'm rambled enough for the night. Have a good night.